Hey, Tom Rabbit! I hope you got this for your recording. Hey, YouTube out there. Tom Rabbit likes to record these. Hey, Tom Rabbit!
No, I would say it is true based on empirical evidence.
No, you're not understanding. Okay, so therefore something is true without the necessity of referencing God then.
In that case, I would say yes.
Good. Then God doesn't exist.
Why not?
Because there is no state of affairs, nothing that is stipulated that is, can be, or cannot be, without the necessity of referencing the necessity of God.
Well,
Listen to me. Is it a fact that something cannot come from nothing?
Yes.
Okay. Does that fact, does it exist dependently or independently of God?
Okay, so let's suppose...
No. Answer the question.
Honestly, I think
a fact is a fact. Listen to me carefully. You want to have your cake and eat it too. You want to think like a Christian, but then you want to think like an unbeliever. You want there to be facts to be granted that certain things are, can be, or cannot be without the necessity of referencing God. Okay? But you see, in the Christian worldview, there is no state of affairs that is independent of God. In a chance world, there's nothing ultimately preventing anything from happening.
In that case, I would say that's wrong.
And what would make it wrong?
The fact that nothing is the absence of anything and has therefore no causal powers.
Okay, and again, you're stipulating what is, can be, and cannot be without reference to what would impose it. You're not understanding. You can only invoke what is, can be, or cannot be unless you have a referent to what is ultimate that dictates that.
I think
no, we're not going in circles. Is that you need to get rid of your worldly thinking here. That you think that there are just some truisms or facts that can be disassociated from God. Otangelo, in the Christian worldview, there are no uncreated facts. Every fact.
Yeah, we agree on that. I have no objection to
that. But the Kalam is stating an uncreated fact.
The Kalam says exactly the same thing, that something cannot come unless
no, you're
God
not. It doesn't.
Actually creates it.
No, God is the conclusion of the Kalam. We haven't gotten to the conclusion. No, we haven't gotten to the. You're not listening to me. You're not listening to me. We're just looking at the first premise. The point, what I'm trying to say to you, okay, listen to me. Listen to me. Van Til successfully argued there's only two kinds of facts, right? There are created facts or there are uncreated facts. Either a fact of what is, can be, or cannot be is so because it originates in the mind of God, or not. And if not, it's an uncreated fact. Is premise one is it a fact that everything that begins to exist has a cause, Otangelo?
Yes.
Okay. Is that a created or an uncreated fact?
Well, I will respond again with the same which I responded.
See, you're not answering the question. You're dodging just like the atheists do. Okay, either something is a created fact or it's a brute fact. A brute fact is a fact that is just simply stated, well, it just simply is without any ultimate reason or basis why it is. Okay? So is the opening premise of the Kalam that everything begins to exist as a cause, is this a brute fact, Otangelo?
No, it is not a brute fact.
Okay, well then, but you see, if it's not a brute fact, then the premise should be that nothing can come into existence without Jesus Christ, because that's what John 1 says. That's what Colossians 1 says.
Yes, we agree with that.
But that's not the Kalam.
Okay, so
the Kalam only concludes with God. The Kalam is not establishing that premise one is a created fact.
Well, unless it's smuggling God in implicitly and trying to trick the unbeliever. Is that what's happening?
Are you hiding God in premise one, Otangelo?
No.
Okay, so where is God explicitly stated in premise one?
It's not.
Good. Then it's a brute fact. Okay.
How would you reformulate the Kalam in order to fit into a presup approach?
Okay. I would say in order for anything to be a fact, okay, including whatever begins to exist, it would have to have its basis in the mind of God in order for it to be actual and intelligible, and without which there will be no metaphysical context upon which to establish the actuality of facts and its subsequent intelligibility. You see, what you're doing is you are borrowing off of a very powerful probabilistic reasoning that William Lane Craig, who is a Thomist, has developed. And Craig is very impressive when he presents it. Okay, I was impressed by it a couple of years ago, but I'm no longer impressed by it because I've realized that what he's doing is he's capitulating to the false beliefs of unbelievers, and he's presenting a line of reasoning that doesn't pay proper acknowledgement of God for all facts. Okay, Van Til said there are no uncreated facts. Okay?
You see, when Darth asked you if you were hiding God in the premises, the astute unbeliever could say, well, you're concluding God. Is God in the premises at all? And if the answers to that is no, then the astute unbeliever could say, well, you can't conclude God then, because if God exists, he would have to be present in the premises, because no facts could exist without deriving from him.
Didn't that like make the Kalam circular though?
Yes, and that is a crown jewel in God's crown. That only he can authorize himself as God.
Yeah. God is the only one who can authorize himself. Okay? And if you object to that as circular reasoning, then what you're objecting to is there is no final court of appeal. There is no ultimate truth that we can start off with, and therefore you're in an open system. Okay? And if you're in an open system, truth is inaccessible.
Well, also with God, the only rational thing that could be is that God authorizes himself. So you'd be objecting to rationality and insisting on irrationality if you object to that.
Otangelo, I want to ask you a question, right?
Right.
Is the only way for us to come to know and believe that God exists if and only if God reveals himself?
Yes.
Okay. Well, the Kalam is circumventing that.
But I think creation also points to a creator.
No, listen to me. If it points to when you say that, are you saying that it's revelatory of God?
Yes.
That God construct? Well, then that's different. Then yeah. But you see, that's the difference between evidentialism versus presuppositionalism. A presuppositionalist will take various facts, whatever they may be, any fact at all, and say it would not be a fact unless it started in the mind of God, it was executed within God's plan and sustained by his providence, and the fact was imposed in such a way that it reveals God, okay, because without which we couldn't know that there's an ultimate, and if you don't know there's an ultimate, then you can't have facts. If there's no identifiable ultimate or absolute, then there cannot be facts. Okay?
Okay.
See, the problem with the Kalam is it's using powerful probabilistic reasoning, but it's fatally flawed. Because I could just simply ask William Lane Craig, is premise one Is this fact? Is it a brute fact? And a brute fact is something that's not a created fact.
So let me ask you.
It's a fact that just simply is without any ultimate designation of where it came from.
Okay,
and
so
if he asserts that it's a brute fact, go ahead.
Can God do anything?
No.
Okay, can he create a fact where nothing produces something?
No.
Okay, so now let's remove God from the equation. What would be the difference?
Okay, well, the reason is because nothing can exist without God, and more importantly, there wouldn't be any intelligibility for a fact without referencing God.
You know, Darth, to talk about nothing is something which I have always seen big difficulty by atheists or people in general even grasp what absolutely nothing actually is. And
you want to have your cake and eat it too. On the one hand, you want to acknowledge the creator-creature distinction, which means there are no state of affairs whatsoever that are uncreated. But then you want to come along. But then you want to come along with the first premise and state that there's a fact, okay, that everything that begins to exist has a cause, right? Right now that's only true within the Christian worldview. Now, all I have to ask you is simply this: is the first premise, everything that begins to exist has a cause, is that a fact?
Yes.
Is it a creative fact or a brute fact?
It is simply a fact.
It's what?
It is simply a fact.
Oh, Darth Dawkins,
No,
I have
you
a
see,
question.
Is it a fact for a
Professor,
reason?
I'll get you a second, okay? Either a fact is a created fact within the creator-creature distinction, or it's a brute fact. It simply is a fact without any ultimate reason why it is. Which is it?
I think it's neither one nor the other.
No, there's no escaping this. You see,
It's either for a reason or not.
You see, okay. So now there are facts. There's at least one or more facts that exist without being a created fact. Is that what you believe, or would you like me to read you Colossians 1?
No, let's make a thought experiment here, okay? Let's everyone imagine a state, an ontological state of absolute nothingness, okay?
All right, I'm going to stop you. I'm going to stop you right here, okay? Here's where you're wrong, all right? Let me read this to you, okay? Let me get the right translation here. He is the image of the invisible God, the firstborn of all creation. For by him all things were created, both in heavens and earth, visible and invisible, whether thrones or dominions or rulers or authorities. All things have been created through him and for him. And he is before all things, and in him all things hold together. Okay? Now, let me read to you John 1. Otangelo, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. He was in the beginning with God. All things came into being through him, and apart from him, nothing came into being that has come into being. Okay? In him was the life, and the light was the light of men. Okay? So we have a very clear picture here. Mm-hmm. There are no brute facts.
Yep.
There are only created facts. Okay? Mm-hmm. Now, is the first premise of the Kalam a created fact or a brute fact?
It is.
There's not a third alternative.
I think we should stop here.
Yeah, the reason why you want to stop is because you've been cornered with your unbiblical thinking. You want to present certain brute facts and then conclude, therefore, God. Okay? the bottom line here is this. I agree that everything that begins to exist is a cause, but that only has intelligibility and actuality within the Christian worldview. Okay? You want to conclude that, and by the way, the Kalam doesn't even get you to the Christian worldview. Do you realize that?
I think it leads you to the God of the Bible.
No, you're mistaken. The Kalam goes like this. Everything that begins to exist has a cause. The universe began to exist. Conclusion, the universe had a cause.
Right. And
Great.
from
Good.
that fact alone, you can conclude properties of that cause, which then will convey
Right,
which
and you are reasoning probabilistically. Okay.
Okay.
William Lane Craig, in using the Kalam, and he's done so very eloquently and powerfully, simply states that God is the best explanation. That is not the biblical position.
I
The
would say
biblical
in that
position. The
case,
biblical position is God is the only explanation.
But I would say that in regards of the Kalam, that is also the right conclusion that God is the only explanation.
No, you're not understanding.
The
Kalam only gets you. The Kalam only gets you to God probably exists.
No, I disagree.
Probably does not mean necessarily.
It leads you to a cause which must be God.
No.
Yeah.
The Kalam, no. What happens is that the Kalam doesn't get you to God. The Kalam only gets you to a cause. Then you have to. Then you're not understanding. Then that's another argument.
Okay, I give you that. Then it's another argument. Okay.
Can you please explain to me? Then why is it that William Lane Craig says that God is the best explanation? How come he doesn't say God is the only explanation?
Well, does he say that in regards of the Kalam or in regards of other?
In his apologetic, he is repeatedly saying that God is the best explanation. Okay, what he's saying is,
in regards of the Kalam,
look, the Kalam does not get you to God. Okay, you have to use the conclusion as a premise in another argument.
We can continue the argument.
But the Kalam is a separate argument, Otangelo. The Kalam doesn't get you. Okay, you're not getting this, okay? Because you're so enamored by the Kalam, okay? Listen, I used to be enamored by the Kalam too.
No, I'm not enamored, Darth.
Okay, let me ask you. Okay, listen to me. No, the Kalam as it is formulated, does it get you to the existence of God?
I think so.
No.
Okay.
It only gets you. Okay, we're gonna.
Okay, it leads you to a cause, right?
That's right. But then you have to take the conclusion of the Kalam and use it as a premise in another argument.
Why can't we just continue the argument rather than make another argument?
Because that's not the Kalam.
Okay, so let's throw the Kalam out of the window and just use.
Okay. Thank you. Now we're done. I've done my job.
Well, it wouldn't matter how many arguments you present because William Lane Craig was asked by an audience member if he knows God exists, and he said no.
That's another topic. But okay,
no, it's not another topic. No, it's not another topic because this is the underlying problem of his apologetic. Okay. All right, we're going to move on. Professor wanted to say something. Go ahead, Professor.
Yeah. So when William Craig says
Okay, listen carefully. I do not yell over everyone. Okay, there are some people who, because of their belligerence and their obnoxiousness, or constantly interrupting me to disrupt the flow of the conversation, that I will aggressively and assertively raise my voice over them to stop their bad behavior. Okay. Now,
hold on.
Maybe sometimes that sounds rude, but as soon as
okay, we're done, Otangelo. Okay. What you're just doing is you're just coming in and you're trolling, okay? Now, this guy, Professor Unique, was fully revealing that he's just an obnoxious teenager. It's very clear to everybody in the room that he has a teenager attitude and a teenager mindset, okay? Now, I was attempting to speak to him civilly, but he didn't want to be civil. That's why I pointed out, are you a teenager? Now, if he wasn't a teenager, then it would surprise me because he talks and sounds like a teenager and he's acting like teenagers typically do at the cafeteria table. By the way, did you get that, Tom Rabbit?